Hello Hello and welcome to the Mobile Tech Addicts podcast. I'm your host Gareth, and I'm from Tracy and Matt.co.uk, and I have two different people with me this week. Matt cannot be here as he was assaulted outside Wembley train station earlier today. They don't know exactly what happened. Dan well, he might be with us later on. Hopefully, he's trying to get home to join in and be with us. And then Phil can't make it either because apparently he assaulted someone outside Wembley train station. Podcast. I'm your host, Gareth. Welcome to the Mobile Tech Addicts. Wow, someone's listening to. And I'm two different people with me. And I have Matt different people with here as he was assaulted out here as. So who's watching it live? Earlier today. It's Michael. Okay, so let's introduce each other. This is obviously Jay Garrett here. Who are you, Jay, and why are you here?
I'm here because I've got nothing better to do, quite frankly, and I was invited. I don't get invited to many things, so I thought, say yes. And I'm behind Gadgety News.
That's gadgetynews.com?
It is, yeah. It is, indeed.
Excellent, excellent. A very good techie website that covers all manner of tech, phones, tablets, and beyond.
Yeah, I've been getting more into the hi-fi thing recently as well. I'm almost a musician. I'm a bass player, so that kind of thing intrigues me, and the higher end things, and it's all good, but I just write it really, really plain speak, no jargon or very little jargon. So that's my angle on that sort of thing.
Awesome, awesome. And we have Micael as well. Micael, are you there? Oh, you're muted. Can we unmute you? Can you hit the mute button at the top there?
I think. Do you hear me now?
Yeah, we can.
Yeah.
Oh, perfect. Yeah.
Go ahead. Who are you, Micael? Where are you from?
My name is Micael. I live in Sweden, and I run a website called Tech and Burger.
Angle on that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Awesome, awesome. And we have Micael as well. Hold on a second. Do you have YouTube open at the moment, Micael? There's a bit of background noise coming through.
Yeah. Do you hear me better now?
Yeah. It seems to be a bit of delay maybe.
I think so. Also, I got something that my sound was turned off all of a sudden, so that was a bit of a surprise.
Hang on a second. There's no bugs in Google Hangouts here. Okay, it's rock solid. Okay.
It's actually, since it's developed by Google Sweden, I think there's no bugs.
So tell us about techandburgers.com. What do you do at Tech and Burgers?
It's basically revolves around my two favorite things in the world, burgers and technology. Reviewing the latest burgers here in Sweden, and as well as technology. So the latest gadget I'm into is the HP Stream 7.
Right, okay. That's pretty impressive. Obviously, Tech and Burgers is close to almost everyone's heart. Which do you prefer, or which do you cater for more? Is it a new burger every day, or?
That's a tough choice. I would say burger every day.
Okay, and you've never thought of linking the two together, obviously, and having a mobile phone burger sandwich thing.
I think.
Okay, well, hopefully Dan will be joining us later on, and Matt sends his apologies. We're recording this on a Thursday night. We're trying to make it more of a Wednesday night thing, and then Matt will be able to join us every week, and Jay and Micael, you're more than welcome to join us every week at your leisure, and we'll hopefully have a nice varied panel full of people from all walks of life and all areas of the internet to join in and have some fun and talk about tech, because that's what we're here to do. And it's been something of a busy week. There's been a number of different announcements, and I've sort of pulled together a good collection of topics for us to talk about tonight. And we're going to start with a little announcement that came out the same day as a certain watch from a very large company, but it seems to have been a little bit trounced by all the other news of the week and somewhat ignored. But I guess it's because there's no main launch of it in America or in Europe. This is a Taiwanese launch, but the phones that they are talking about here are pretty sexy whenever you actually get down to it. We have Asus are launching, isn't it, 3 new flavors of Zenfone 2. I think it's actually 4. Yeah, most of them are somewhat standard. 2 of them have 720p resolutions and Intel Atom processors inside them. But the one that really took my fancy was their top model, the ZE551ML, which is a very catchy title, if you ask me. Yeah. It's got a 2.3 gigahertz Intel processor inside it with a 5.5-inch full HD display, 32 gigabytes of memory, and a whopping 4 gigabytes of RAM. And they're what do you call it when money is changed from one currency to another? The
conversion.
The conversion. That'll do. From the Taiwanese shilling to dollar. It works out to be $285, which is pennies for the bit of hardware that we have here. Michael, did you have a chance to have a look at these Zenphones at all?
Yeah, I looked at Zenphones and I liked them, but the thing that I always have an issue with Asus is that they're not that big here in Sweden. At the phone section, usually you can find them by grey importers, I would say. But they don't launch their tablets or the phones here that much.
Oh, right, okay. Well, I suppose it's not a terribly big brand here in the UK as well. I don't see too many Asus tablets. Obviously, the Nexus 7 was probably the most popular Asus tablet we've had, but otherwise we would know them more for their motherboards and computer innards. Is that the same in Sweden then?
Yeah, that's the same. We are pretty much focused on, I'd say, Nokia, Microsoft, and Sony here.
Ah, right, okay. Your homebrew stuff, so to speak. You love your Nokia. Well, I suppose that Nokia is Finland, isn't it, as opposed to Sweden? But it's just over the fence. What about you, Jay? You would obviously know Asus because you're a bit of a computer builder type guy, aren't you?
Yeah, I dabble at best, but yeah, my last PC had an Asus motherboard, but I know they had the tablet that you shove a phone in the back and things like that over the last year or so. But as far as just standalone phones, I don't think I've seen anybody on the tube or walking around with an Asus phone. But after looking at this latest Zenfone, like you say, with the 4 gig of RAM and everything, on paper it certainly reads well, and the body with the brushed aluminium or whatever it is looks like it would take on quite happily sort of the new HTC, even the iPhone on looks, but it's build quality and all those other things that until you actually get it in your hand, you can't really equate to whether it's going to be worth the money or not.
Oh, I think we've lost Michael there.
I didn't say anything bad about Nokia or anything. I love Nokia.
Well, maybe it's just those North Sea connections. Yeah, oh, there we go.
Hey.
And he's back in the room.
Yeah, I got kicked out all of a sudden.
Sorry, I don't know what happened there. We'll just blame Google once again. So yeah, obviously Asus have made a number of particularly interesting devices over the years, as Jay touched on there. I think it was called the Pad phone.
That's it, yeah.
I think they made 3 of them in total over the years, 3 years running. It was a tablet that you could slide the phone inside, and the tablet was essentially a dumb screen. And for the life of me, I thought that was one of the most ingenious ways to do things, especially if the tablet had a battery in behind it and it could charge your phone on the go. If it was a screen with a big battery in it, that would be perfect. You charge your phone on the train on your way into work.
Yeah.
On your way home again. Brilliant. Why can't more companies be thinking along those lines? Well, I suppose because they can't sell it for as much as selling a phone and a tablet to you.
And then a keyboard with a tablet.
Oh, very true. Yes, yeah, all the peripherals. But I suppose Asus did go a bit crazy with the peripherals and the peripheral price for the Nexus 7s.
Yeah.
But they also made the phone pad as well, which was that 7-inch tablet that was primarily a phone. It had mouthpiece or a microphone down there and a speaker up there, so you could actually use it as a phone on your way around, which is bonkers, to be honest. Totally bonkers. So you didn't get any of those up in Sweden then, Michael?
We got Nexus 7, and that's the last one I would say. And I think it's still a good value, even though it's a year old, because you can find it for around $199 US.
Mm-hmm.
So I recommend it to a lot of people, and I still have mine originally from 2012.
Right. Okay. Well, that's kind of interesting. I guess we monitor America, and we would monitor here, and we would gauge each other on what kind of releases to expect. But then we never take into account the other territories in Europe as to what they receive. And obviously Asus isn't a really big brand, but I have seen one person using a phone pad, and I saw a pad phone too once on the train. So Asus is there, albeit very limited. That would be an interesting question, actually, and I should have done this earlier on. But Michael, what is your loadout for the day? What phones, what tablets do you have, or do you take with you? Do you rely on a daily basis?
It's the Galaxy Note 4. Since my day-to-day job, currently my consultant firm that I work for just recently sent me to Ringhals, which is one of the few nuclear power plants in Sweden. So I can't survive without my Galaxy Note there.
And it was the 4 you said you had? Yeah, the Note 4. Okay. Do you have a tablet as well, or? Yeah,
the HP Stream. It's perfect. I'll fit it in my pocket right now and just go off.
Okay. Smartwatch?
No, I'm still sticking with my regular watch.
Interesting.
I know I can forget to charge my phone, but if I forget to charge my watch.
Yes, that's a fair point. They do last for about 3 days now, unless you have an Apple device. Sorry. Jay, what's your loadout? A tablet, phone, any of those things?
Phone-wise, I've still got the M7. HTC One. I had to play with the M9, and I'm just full of want. I don't usually go for bling, but just the color scheme of the silver and gold edge and everything just looks a really, really premium bit of kit. So I'm hoping I can talk nicely to O2 and get an upgrade of that's not going to hurt my wallet too much for the M9. Tablet-wise, I've got my Yoga 2 Pro laptop, which sort of folds over. So that sort of fills the tablety gap. I get a nice keyboard and everything. As far as smartwatches, still not convinced. It's all in bubble wrap, but I've got a bunch of Rado real watches that I select from. Automatic, don't need winding, no batteries, the whole good time, even though they're like 30 or 40 years old plus. So until I fall in love with a smartwatch, I don't see the point. The Apple Watch, initially when I heard the $13,000 or pound asking price at the top of the range one, thought ridiculous, as you would. If you go out and buy a Rolex or a Rado or a Breitling, you're going to be able to pass that to your kids or your grandkids and down the line.
Yeah.
It's always going to work. A 13 grand digital watch that needs a phone to join to, knowing Apple, that software is only going to last 2 years, 3 years. I mean, show me a first generation iPhone that will still run the iOS.
And
Very true.
we have the second issue also. It will be outdated in a year. Update for writing, you can have it in 40 years and it will still be top notch.
Yeah.
Well, okay, we're going to go on to the Apple Watch in a segment later on whenever we get to the wearables section. So we'll rant and rave about it at that time.
Okay. Sorry, boss.
Right now, we're going to try and stay on phones and go for the Android 5.1 Lollipop is churning out at the moment. I have an Nexus 10 here, which has not had a notification of it yet, so I don't know if it's actually coming out on all devices right away. But have you guys had a chance to have a check and see if you have anything on your Nexus 7s?
No, nothing for me yet.
No, nothing through.
I haven't got a Nexus, but I had an update last night. But I think that was the one before Lollipop. I think I'm quite behind. So I've just got, when you double tap the home screen, I get some sort of card type, that kind of thing. But I don't think that's Lollipop just yet.
Oh, is that on your M7?
Yeah. So the multitasking things that I can whip away and whatnot. But I don't think that's Lollipop yet.
No, that's on 4.4. Yeah, because the Note 4 has it. It hasn't got a Lollipop update, actually. Actually, have you got one yet, Michael? Lollipop update?
Mine hasn't got Lollipop. Yeah, I'm still waiting for it.
Yeah. I've seen it's rolling out on Sprint in America, which I think is a bit annoying. They should have to wait.
Yeah, I actually had a gold one 4 before, but I dropped it at work, so I had to buy a second one. I think that was, let's say.
Nice. Okay. That would bring a tear to your eye.
Yeah. It was first time yes, I was actually crying.
So the Android 5.1 Lollipop brings with it support for dual SIMs. There's been some tweaks to the quick settings menu, primarily Bluetooth and Wi-Fi. Because to be quite honest, I have Lollipop on my Nexus 10 tablet, and I don't like the menus at all. I was so happy with the way they were in KitKat. I'm not too fussed on the new Lollipop interface at all whenever it comes to that menu. And I've had it for long enough that I thought I'd get used to it, but I haven't yet, and I'm hoping that these tweaks make things so much easier to use. But for the Nexus 5 and the Nexus 6, there's going to be a noticeable upgrade for the HD calling, which is kind of nice, and the new device protection thing, which does make an awful lot of sense. So if someone were to steal your device, they can't take it away, factory reset it, and use it for themselves. They'll have to be able to log into your device once they do a factory reset with your details. So it makes your Nexus device just unstealable. There's no point in stealing a Nexus device off someone. You should just go and hand it into the police if you find one, or resist the urge.
Obviously, that's what we'd all do. We'd find some tech on the floor and just hand it straight into the nearest bobby.
Absolutely. I did that in January. I found an iPhone 5C sitting on the table beside me at the coffee shop, and I picked it up and I handed it in to the staff behind the counter, and they probably took it home with them, but I did my bit, and if the person came back to get it, I can stand by what I did.
Well, good on you.
Yes, that's what I thought. So, yeah, Android 5.1, it's not a big update, but it's certainly delivering a couple of things that will please someone somewhere along the lines, especially those tweaks to the menu.
But you don't like it?
Well, hopefully the new one might have better options and things like that. It just seems that they've gotten rid of a few things that just made things easy. Okay, so what is the definition of a super flagship? Michael?
I will say the screen for me.
The what, sorry?
The screen.
The screen?
Yeah, for HD. I can view movies, I can browse the web, I can listen to music, I can have 2 windows open at the same time.
Okay, okay. Jay, what do you think? A super flagship, what would be that for you?
For me, as a northerner, that just sounds expensive to me. They've got a premium line already, and it's like, how can we charge somebody a little bit more?
That's
But like Michael says, it'll probably have to be like twice retina sort of screen resolution. I hope it doesn't mean it's a big screen, because I'm getting kind of fed up with these small tablets that are phones now. I think 5-inch, 5.5 inches is as big as a phone should be, and then you're going into tablet territory.
Mm-hmm.
But it just sounds expensive to me, to be honest.
Well, yeah, I think that is a fair point. They're looking to, well, obviously maximize profits in some form or shape or form. I always thought basically a super flagship could be something along the lines of they have their flagship Samsung, have their S6, and then they have their super flagship, which could be their Note 4, which just takes everything and makes it bigger and better later in the year, so that they can pop up their revenue. Profit ability type stuff by the time Christmas comes around. LG look to be doing the same kind of thing, because if they're just releasing the G4, once they do that, you just have to wait a whole year for another exciting device to come out. HTC do the same. Once the M9 is out, I guess you can kind of take a step back from HTC, because they're not going to release better than that until this time next year, when the M10 might come along, and then it might not just be or it might be nothing more than another basic upgrade. Apple have the same thing, but then could the super flagship be the 6 Plus? It takes, to use a nice music analogy for you, Jay, takes a 10 and turns it up to 11.
Nice.
Yeah.
But the problem is that a lot of people are on at least 12-month contracts. Most of us are on 18-month contracts, and then there's some people on 24-month contracts. So releasing them out of step, I don't know if you're going to catch a lot of market that's already got phones. Like I've got the M7. I'm on an 18-month contract. I'm hoping that the M9 lands so I can just upgrade. Now, if there's an M10 at the end of the year, I can't do anything about it, because it's going to cost me an arm and a leg to buy myself out of this new 18-month contract. Super flagship sounds a bit super fly as well, which I've just got in my head, and I can't do anything about that now. I've just got my wild guitar going on. But it does. Is it Samsung that's had the Alpha range?
Yes.
Yeah. I understood that was supposed to be like a flagship plus, or was that something completely different?
I think that was more kind of mid-range, wasn't it, Michael? It was like a...
I think the Galaxy Alpha was the top range. The Switch did more of a mid-range device.
Oh, okay, all right, yeah, okay, that makes sense, yeah.
Because I thought it was like, because the Samsung was mainly plastic, so they just added something that was a bit hold for the Alphas.
But did they not have dual core inside them or something? They weren't the top-notch processor. Oh, I can't remember now. I guess Samsung's a victim of their own popularity and their own release schedule. They just blur into each other. Because there's the Samsung Galaxy A5 out now, which is that the Alpha 5? Oh god.
I think the A5 is more of a mid-range device, since it took a lot of the feeding away from the S5.
Right. Okay. Yes. I'm catching up now. Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. Maybe Samsung's not the best new company to use as an example here, because they just release a new flagship every other week.
Yeah, it's sort of like Sony, but I feel they have been surprisingly quiet for the last couple of months since the release of the C3.
Yeah, they are, but I guess they were always kind of that way. But Sony is one company, whilst Samsung are really pushing out updates and things like that. Like the Galaxy Note 2 is getting Lollipop. I find that amazing. You know, that's a 3-year-old phone, and they're still pushing out updates. Yeah, Jay's giving it a round of applause there. Sony tend to just
They
leave their devices quite happily.
But talking about updates, I got something exciting just in my mail. A beta invite for Microsoft Mixed Radio for Android and iOS.
Oh, what? Sorry?
A beta invite for Microsoft Mixed Radio for Android and iOS.
Oh, right. Okay. When's that?
Yeah, it's available right now. I can send you the link because it seems like you can sign up.
Oh yeah, do that. Yeah, absolutely. We'll all sign up. Hey. Awesome. Okay. Right. So LG Super Flagship. It's probably just another exciting thing that they're going to be pushing out to maximize their profits before the end of the year. Oh yeah. Oh, okay. I'll have a read of that later on. Sounds interesting. Jay, it might be something up your alley.
Yeah, I'll have a look at that.
Cool. So the Samsung Galaxy S6 has a user's manual that comes with it or is available in PDF format online. And it details the ability to be able to remove parts of the phone and take out the battery. I guess whenever it all boils down to it, every phone can remove the battery in some shape or other because they've got to be able to put it in. It's not sort of hard. It's not fused into the body of it. Like the iPhone, you can pull the screen off with a rubber sucker and exchange the battery if you need to, but it's a difficult process. The Samsung Galaxy S6 looks to be slightly easier, and anyone who has a wee bit of technical ability should be able to do that. What do you guys think about this? I wonder why they just didn't make it a removable battery in the first place, like they did with the S5 with their waterproofing. What do you think, Jay?
To be honest, with this last release, it looked like they were playing catch up with Apple quite a lot. They've looked at what Apple's doing. They've looked at what HTC's doing, although HTC's kept the SIM card, the SD card, and other bits and pieces. But I think they just wanted a unibody design, and in with that comes with a non-removable battery. I've had a look at the PDF, and there's lots of screws and warranty voiding malarkey going on with it. But if you are the type of person that wants to fiddle around, I don't know if you can make it a quick release sort of thing, so you can have spare batteries. That would just be too scary for me after forking out a lot for a brand new phone to start fiddling with screws and unbolting things.
Well, I wouldn't imagine people would be doing this sort of out of the box. It would be maybe a year down the line when they're trapped in a 24-month contract with this, and their battery just goes to crap because the rapid charging methods that they've employed kill the battery over 12 months, and they have trouble getting out of the house. I know that some people who have the Samsung Galaxy S3 are suffering from dreadful battery lives that drop from 70% to 10% in 3 minutes. What do you think, Michael? Do you reckon that this is a strategy by Samsung just to be a bit friendlier?
I think if you look at the bottom of the S6 and the iPhone 6, I feel that they look identical, to be honest. It feels like they're moving too much to the iPhone and forgetting what made the Galaxy series popular, to be honest.
Yeah, I suppose maybe with all the releases that are coming out, they're maybe trying to push the Galaxy toward being the more premium end, and then bringing in alphas and things like that to cover what might have been popular with previous Galaxies, whilst combining plastic and metal and things like that to please everyone. I guess there's something there for everyone, but things might be getting lost in translation.
Yeah. One example is that when I was in MediaMarkt and picked up my Note 4, the seller there told me that the Samsung Galaxy S6 looks too much like an iPhone.
Yeah, absolutely. I fully agree. The Alpha was, well, I suppose it was identical in a way, but the S6 does look very much like it, and I would do wonder if Apple are laughing a wee bit about it. Yeah.
So while you're fiddling around with the Samsung battery, can you put a memory card in there as well? I didn't have a proper look at the PDF.
Oh, I never noticed that actually. I don't think it shows that in the specs, or not in the specs.
That would be brilliant if you could actually upgrade the phone while you're in there. Just have a good old fiddle around and like you can with the previous Samsungs. You know, perhaps sling a 128 gig card in there or something ridiculous.
Yeah, yeah. It doesn't show anything in the schematics to make you think that there's the possibility of doing that, but I'm sure someone somewhere along the lines will be able to mod it in such a way that you can, because they do use those really cute little magnets connectors as opposed to soldering them in. They are really nice. I took my Note 2 apart to replace the screen once, and I sat and played with them for a while, just clipping them off, and then they clipped back on again, and that was so much fun. But the one thing that I do wonder about this is the availability of batteries. Obviously, they're going to pop up on eBay from China, but they have that little connector that you need to have attached. You can't just get a compatible battery and stick it in there. They have to be specifically manufactured with that on them. That might cause a few problems somewhere along the lines with some people, and also whilst you are avoiding the warranty, putting in a new battery, the battery quality can be brought into account there that it might blow up in your face.
Yeah, a slight problem with exploding batteries, I suppose.
Yeah. But then I suppose that's happened to Samsung anyway. Wasn't someone burnt their house down because they left their S3 on charge for too long, or their S2?
True, but that can happen with electronic cigarettes as well, using Apple chargers and whatnot.
That's right, yeah. Oh, where's Phil when you need him? He uses those electronic cigarettes. Do either of you have electronic cigarettes?
No.
No. Good guys. You're not vapor smoker people things. Anyway, all right. Well, we'll move on to tablets. Oh, I don't have a link for that actually because I only posted it after I wrote the show notes for this podcast. Android 6.0 might have a new feature that, or it could be coming before then. We don't really know. But if I can find the actual article, I'll link it for you. They are talking, but some people have found in the code reference to multi-window, which it has the potential to be phenomenal. Samsung use it quite a lot in their devices, and the Galaxy devices have, well, they're quite famous for it actually. I don't particularly use it on the Note 4. Michael, do you use it on the Note 4?
I use it. I have both, the web browser open and Hangouts open at the same time. Yeah. So I think it's an amazing feature. And I'm looking forward to it. The thing I do not like is that sometimes it can be a little bit etchy, because it doesn't always react the way that I want to on mine.
Well, yeah. It does bring the more potential for an actual desktop environment, and it brings Android to become a more viable option for laptops and hooking up your tablet to a screen with a Bluetooth keyboard and actually using it on the go as a fully fledged computer, because it's very productive. I think I have used the multi-window in my Note 4 and indeed the Note 2 maybe 4 times. That's it. I'm just old-fashioned habits of, I guess, using an Nexus 10 and other Android devices, not doing it very often because I just forget it's always there. Even the pop-out menu, it just irritates me whenever it pops out. I have to get rid of it very, very quickly. But do you think you would use Android as a main desktop operating system if there were to be multi-windows?
No.
Oh, okay.
I can't say that, to be honest. I need a full desktop environment. I tried a Chromebook once, but I liked it, but I just missed some pieces from Windows.
Well, yeah. I suppose that is a Yeah, the Chromebook is one thing to bring into question whenever Android is just becoming so unbelievably powerful by comparison that it seems that Chrome OS doesn't really have a place anymore, um, because obviously Chrome is going to be on the Android um, desktop interface if it were to go that way. So you don't really need Chrome OS, but I do love my Chromebook. It's one of my favorite things. I don't know where I'd be without it. It's my traveling compadre, and I can quite easily do without Windows if it weren't for video editing and the likes of this audio editing. But I suppose I could even do this on a Chromebook if I were to. Yeah, editing the podcast is a bit difficult on a Chromebook, but it can be done. Yeah, I think I could ditch Windows if I needed to. Jay, multi-Windows on an Android device? Good or bad?
I'd like to have a play, because whenever I've brought up how good HTC phones are to my Samsung owning friends, they always go, yeah, but can it do this? And they've got the little multi-window thing going on. I think that looks kind of neat. Not sure when I'd actually use it, because I am generally multitasking, but I don't know on a device that small. I understand it on a decent sized screen. I've actually got my laptop on a stand, and I've got my PC thing going on here. That I understand having a multi-screen sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
On a small device, a Note 4, or even a phone, I'm not sure how useful that'll be unless you're reading a message while still watching a YouTube clip or a film. But beyond that, I'm not sure about how useful that is.
Well, yeah. I think if the YouTube client has essentially 3 windows on Android. If you open it up on a 10-inch tablet,
Yeah.
you've got up in this corner here, you'll have, or maybe I'm doing that the wrong way around, the video itself. Then down here you'll have, is it recommendations or comments or something like that?
Yeah.
And then down this side you'll have other videos that are in a playlist or whatever, or I can't remember now I think about it, and the tablet's in the house. But that's 3 windows, and then you can select them, and they enlarge and become bigger and take over the whole thing. So that is essentially a multi-window within a window, and that makes things highly productive for, well, anything, and every app should really have that. And I'm hoping that the multi-window that they are going to employ isn't as we know it on Windows, where you actually have Internet Explorer on this side and Chrome on this side, or a sound application here. I'm hoping that they actually bring it into being multi-window within the app that you're actually using, so that you can bring other things forward. I suppose like in Chrome, having multiple tabs, and you can have 2 tabs open at the same time, and then be able to open something inside that again, which maybe the YouTube app or something. In that, I guess the way I'm talking about is in the tabs. Whenever you open up the tab, say you have received a message on Hangouts with a link in it, and you click that link, it'll maybe open up Chrome from the Hangout. But then if you hit the tab button again, it might show the tab as being the Hangout instead of Chrome, and you won't see Hangout tab and then Chrome Hangout or Chrome tab. You'll have to click on the Hangout, because that's where you were when you opened the link into Chrome. Does that make sense in any way?
Yeah, I could also see a scenario where you're editing a Word document and creating a PowerPoint at the same time. If you're going to make a presentation and you only have a tablet with you, you can make a quick changes in the PowerPoint and then switch over to Word and pull info from there.
Well, yeah, that kind of is along the same lines, I suppose, and maybe you explained it a little better than me, because I'm useless. Do you want to take over hosting the podcast? Okay, right. We're going to move into a bit of Apple territory here, but we're not going Apple Watch just yet. We're going for the new Apple Netbook. Sorry, my new Apple MacBook. It's this nice little thin, little tiny, little gold device with one port on it that does everything. Anyway, yeah, and it only costs, I don't know, about £1,000 or something like that for an Intel M dual core processor inside with 16 gigabytes or something. I can't remember what it was. It's lovely looking. It is on paper. It's crap, but it's lovely looking. Jay, what are your feelings on the new Apple MacBook?
Well, funnily enough, only today I've been catching up on the Apple news because all my timelines get flooded by it, and Twitter's flooded by it. Everywhere I look on Feedly, so I generally leave it a few days, let it all die down, and then have a considered look at it.
Mm-hmm.
And after writing about the new MacBook, I just decided that I'd rather have the Surface 3 and 200 quid in my pocket, and it's lighter. That's the short version. I've still got people ranting and raving on my personal Facebook timeline, saying how the new MacBook is worth the money and everything. I don't see it. I called it the iPad Pro, and that seems to have ruffled a few feathers as well. But then, I know we'll probably come on to it later because you mentioned the Chromebook earlier. Then you've got the ridiculous Chromebook Pixel. That's also £1,000. But sticking with the MacBook, if you've got the money, why not? But for what it is, I don't get it.
Mm. Yeah, absolutely. I think you've hit a couple of good points there. Michael, what about you? MacBook or not MacBook?
To be honest, I actually have a MacBook. I actually have an 11-inch MacBook.
The MacBook?
Yeah, the MacBook Air 11-inch.
No, not the Air. That's the Air and the Pro.
The Air 11-inch, because I think it's perfect. I have a Scott EOS and I just put it on the jacket pocket inside, and when I head to my family in the US or in Dublin or in Switzerland, I can just take my jacket. I don't have to wear a backpack. But I don't see the point of the new MacBook because I'm losing power compared to what I already have. And as Jay's pointing out, it just costs money.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. No, it looked lovely when they first showed it, and you just thought, wow, is this the new MacBook Air? But no, it wasn't. It was something else. Whilst it's really nicely designed, it has two big problems. In one, there's absolutely no innovation in it whatsoever. As Jay rightly said, the Surface 3 is so much more of a device, and it's so much more powerful as well. And it's got the keyboard, and you can use it in all walks of life. Oh yeah, absolutely. The MacBook, you can't plug it in and plug in an external drive at the same time. So if you're running low on battery and suddenly need to copy an HD movie from the hard disk over onto the actual MacBook itself, or vice versa, you can't do that. You have to plug it in, wait for it to charge, and then do the copy, unless you have some kind of splitter device or a dongle that plugs in with a bunch of USBs on it. So you've got
follow-up. That'll be about 150 quid, and you can buy it in different colorways, and it'll be a unibody design, little splitter, and it'll look gorgeous, but it'll be about £200, I reckon.
Yeah, and that really just irks at me that they've gone and taken the opportunity to go one port. You want more than that, you're gonna pay. Whereas Microsoft went Surface Pro, let's wax a load of ports in there. Google have gone, as we're going to come to the Chromebook Pixel. Oh no, it's not actually in the show notes. Oh, okay. Well, maybe not. The Pixel has, what is it, one USB-C?
I think it's two Cs, but you can use them for power and everything.
Two Cs?
So you've got a power port on either side, or a USB and power.
But then there's also two USB 3s on there as well. So you've got everything you need. And yeah, I think it would take a professional, I don't know, cable jockey to have all of those ports going at the same time. Anyone who buys the MacBook for the money is going to be a bit annoyed. I think at some stage in their life when they can't plug in 2 or 3 things at the same time.
And,
3 things, that's preposterous.
and I know for myself, to be honest, if I would have bought a MacBook and I bought it on, I would lose that one several times and I would need to buy a new one and a new one again.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's too easy.
Yeah, it is absolutely. Well, it's a bit revolutionary, I suppose. They got rid of the optical drive, and that got annoyed a few people, but it was fine. You know, people were moving over to USB, so they were able to use removable storage that way. So that they were quite happy to do that, and people just had to keep up with the times. This time, there are no options unless you are fully going for Dropbox, Google Drive, and Mac online storage.
But then if you're doing that, how much is a basic Chromebook? It's not £1,000.
No, absolutely not. You can pick them up for what, about 170 now, with ports coming out of it. So, ports everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, well, let's go to the other big announcement from Apple as we move into the wearables section. The Apple Watch. Okay, as some people will be listening to this on their phones as an MP3 or whatever, I'm going to do a really annoying thing and say, hands up if you're going to buy one of these.
Hey!
Okay, that seems to be fairly unanimous. No one is. Okay. I do know if Matt was here, he'd probably be putting his hand in the air because he likes the little dainty girly one. And Phil's a bit like yourself, Jay. He likes a proper analog-y kind of not so smarty watch. And should I speak for Dan? I don't think Dan would go for this. It doesn't really seem like Dan's caper. I think he'd be looking for a Microsoft watch, if anything. I don't know. So, I spent about 3 hours the next morning after it typing up all of my thoughts and feelings into an editorial, and I covered quite a few things in that. Now I'm trying to think about what I've actually written in it. I can't. Comparing it, well, I think my main point that I wanted to get across is that whenever it comes to Android, that is an extension of the notification panel at the top of the phone. And that's all it really tries to be at the moment. It puts in some other, ability to skip tracks or whatever, or drive instructions, and navigation instructions for traveling and things like that. Turn left here and turn right there. A little bit of GPS information, that kind of stuff. So it doesn't overstretch its step. Whereas I think the Apple Watch, right from the word go, is trying to do everything and more. Apple Pay, unlock your hotel room door with it. What is this crap, to be honest, that isn't existing technology? When was the last time you were in a hotel and they said, "Oh, do you want you use your watch to open the door? Do you have that? Oh, here's a key card," and they hand you over a small credit card type thing. It's something that I don't think we're going to see in the next year or two. And as Jay was rightly saying, the £13,000 version of it, I don't care how much money it is. It's not going to open a hotel door probably within my lifetime. 4 years. You might live longer than me. Apparently I'm going to live for 2 years longer, according to Facebook. But my thoughts are in there, and I want to hear your thoughts. We'll start with Michael. What exactly do you think about the Apple Watch? Are you favorable?
I think it looks like a Casio watch from the 80s, to be honest.
Yeah, it certainly does. Well, yeah, I suppose that's not such a bad thing. We do like our
Retro's it's fine.
I think it's fine, but I thought they would do something a bit different, to be honest.
Yeah.
But the thing that surprised me was the wireless charging that they did with. standard for everybody. Yeah.
The wireless charge, yeah. That was one of the things I did like about it was the wireless charging. But carry on. What are your feelings on the wireless charging?
Yeah, I like it, but the feeling is that, you know, with PNA and QI and everything, you don't know which one will be a standard in a couple of years.
Hmm.
I think. So
But
I
then
think
Apple have always survived on their on their connectors, proprietary connectors, like Thunderbolt and Lightning and all that kind of crap. That works for them, and they like it, and they keep doing it. So there's no reason, since they're inside their own little bubble, their wireless charging technology they can keep to themselves. I'm just going to cough. Carry on talking about yourselves.
that's the same thing with the old iPod connector. They managed to have it for like almost 10 years where everybody switched to micro USB.
Yeah, very true. Yeah, they did, and well, because they're a law unto themselves, they can do these things, which I think is exceptional whenever it comes to a technology company these days. Um, they don't care about making things available for, say, Chinese manufacturers to produce their own cheapies, things like that. It's they just wash their hands of them, and they can go and change it as they wish to generate more capital anytime they fancy.
The only thing I'm hoping for is that, you know, we'll, like, you saw what the Motorola did with the Moto Maker for the 360.
Hmm.
Yeah, they bring it to Europe so that we have the option to do that also. So we have a competitor to Apple Watch that actually looks good. So you can make your own watch.
Yeah, well, that was another argument was if you were to take the Apple logo off this iWatch and put it on the Moto 360 and put the Moto 360 logo onto the Apple iWatch or Apple Watch, would you still buy it? You know, the Moto 360 is a very, very beautiful piece of hardware. So, well, if Apple had designed that, um, I suppose they would have put £1,000 price tag on it as well. Would it attract you just as much as this little Apple Watch here if it had an Android on it? Would it be anything to turn your head at? Anyone could have designed this, and it's square.
I would say yeah, because if it is a good design, I would be attracted to it. I have a Tagoya that was the America's Cup edition, and I bought it a couple of years ago, and I still enjoy it. So if it's a good design, I'm all over it.
Well, I suppose, yeah. And it is a good design in that the square watches do sell. The LG G Watch has shown that, proved that. But everyone covets the Moto 360, and I think it's a bit of a mistake on Apple's part to have designed this as a square when everyone's coveting the round watch. LG have just announced the Urbanite or
Urbane.
Urbane one,
Yeah.
and it's a beautiful round watch. So even the LG G Watch R is fairly attractive one. Huawei and their new Huawei watch is phenomenal. It's the most beautiful bit of hardware I've seen this year. But Apple have decided to go square. Maybe that's in keeping with the iPhone itself because it's square. It's, they did try to patent rectangular technology a couple of years ago, didn't they? With the iPad. So I guess it's in keeping with their design aesthetics. But Jay, I've got a funny feeling you're busting to get stuck into the Apple Watch here. Go.
I really, really wanted to, because I just saw the headlines about the $3,500 gold watch and all that kind of malarkey. Unfortunately, the more I read about it, it kind of made sense as far as smartwatches make sense anyway. The bottom of the range Sport or whatever it's called is retailing for about the same price as the Gear Watch R, and so it's about 50 quid more. I think a lot of the smartwatches are going for about 250 quid. and the bottom of the range Oppo Watch is about 300.
Yeah.
So you're only paying another 50 pounds for the Apple tax, which ain't bad when you see how much more iPhones are asking when compared to the Android counterparts. So that's how things I had to scratch off my sort of rant list anyway. And the things that it does, I've no doubt it'll do really, really well. My main bone of contention, because there's got to be, it's an Apple product, is the fact that they've done a U2 again. And whether you've got the watch or not, you've got the app on your iPhone. So if you want to use this app, it's going to cost you about £300 to use this app. So it's there on everybody's iPhone, or on the next update, you'll have the Apple Watch app, which, unless you've spent £300 plus, you're going to have no use for whatsoever. And I would have thought they'd learned from the U2 album thing. Don't force things. Give people the option, say yes or no. But as far as I'm aware, every Apple iPhone owner is going to get the Apple Watch app.
Yeah, that is. It does leave a bad taste in your mouth whenever things are just thrown on there. Well, yeah, Android Wear is a separate app, but I do foresee a time when that will be baked into Android, and the software will be there, because I don't see it.
Will it lurk, or will it be like a completely separate app? I don't mind if it's in the operating system itself and it detects if you've got a wearable, whether it's goggles, watch, pants, or whatever. But if it's a separate app set on your sort of desktop or home screen, going, you can't use this, but I'm going to sit here.
Yeah, screen mirroring might be a good example. It's not something that people are going to use. Maybe they don't need to, or they don't want to, but it's there. It's a function within Android, and initially, whenever it first came out, there were third parties that were trying to do it, and but it then became, a Chromecast thing, and now it's fully embedded into Android. So I guess it's not sitting there as an app, but then the Chromecast is sitting there as an app, but that's an optional download. But it's sitting there in your settings menu, and you can. I think, Michael, you have it as well under the Note. There's both screen mirroring from Android, and then there's the, All Share or something like that from Samsung. So you've got a couple of different apps that are there almost by default. I suppose you can remove the All Share one if you really want to, but it's there by default whenever you open the phone, or buy the phone. But you don't have a choice. It is a bit of a U2 there as well. But you might be right, Jay. What do you think, Michael? Would it piss you off?
I think this is something we have to get used to, that they ship software that we don't want to. Just like on the iPhone, that they ship Beats Music with them all of a sudden. That's another example when everybody uses Spotify. They want to use it into their hands, so to say. They want them to continue into their services.
Very true.
Yeah. And, I use WIMP.
Oh, what, sorry?
It's called WIMP, actually, in Sweden. It's a music service from Norway.
Right.
Is that like Tidal?
Yeah. The one that Jay-Z is buying, actually.
Oh, right.
Yeah, and on my Note, I got the Google Music, I got everything else from Samsung, but still, I don't use any of those services.
Well, suppose you get that whenever you try to open a link, and it's like, which do you want to open it? Like, you want to open a PDF, and you get whatever the Office suite that comes with it is for. You might have Adobe on there. You might have Perfect View or something like that for comics. Or it asks you what you want to do, and you realize just how much repetition you have in your applications. I suppose that's a first world problem, really. But I understand what Jay's. Yeah. But I wonder, will there be third-party clients like there are for Android to interact with your Apple Watch, because you don't have to rely on Android Wear, and indeed some smartwatches don't use it at all. Like obviously Sony and Samsung have their own clients as well for interacting with their smartwatches, and that's compulsory. If you have a smartwatch, you have to have some form of client to be able to handle all the data coming and going from it. But I wonder with Apple's rather fierce kind of guidelines and requirements, will developers be able to do anything about adding functionality or adding even themes and things like that to the Apple Watch suite? I guess it's probably the best word for it is a suite.
But I think you're going to get people like Starbucks and the big chains that leap onto whatever, or appear to leap onto whatever Apple does anyway. So there's going to be some people that pick it up. It's like, was it Apple that did the plane ticket thing as well?
Yeah.
Like the passport. Again, it's nothing that encroaches onto my life whatsoever. The amount of times I have to fly anywhere or fly with a carrier that will be worthy of Apple.
Mm-hmm.
Unless they do an EasyJet app, I'm not going to get much use out of it. But they're obviously going for the premium flight. Like you say, the opening the hotel door thing. It's very James Bond and probably be quite impressive, if you're on a business trip and you're taking somebody back to your room and you just swipe your watch over the hotel door. Excellent. But for the most people that buy Apple products, again, it's something that's come up on my Facebook feed. Apple used to be your creatives and that kind of thing, but Apple's become a brand, so you get a lot of people. So your Beats generation as well, that's going to be buying Apple products that aren't could get sort of 40 or 50% of the use out of them. And I'm sure, as soon as some rapper starts wearing an Apple Watch, sales will go up. It's bound to. But are they going to use half of the things that's embedded into the Apple Watch? Do Apple care?
Yeah. Well, that's the expenditure as well, because obviously they're putting all of this technology in there. The likes of the LG, I think that's what, 90 quid or something like that. I can't remember. It's really cheap, but it only does, well, it does everything Android Wear will let it do. Whereas the Apple Watch does so much more. So I guess, like paying for a cheap phone over an expensive phone, you get an awful lot more for your money whenever you're buying the HTC M9 as opposed to the, I don't even know what that is. That's the Acer E3. It's a very cheap little phone there. But obviously you can't compare them hardware-wise. So to compare that with the Apple Watch, you get an awful lot more for your money, and that's compulsory. There's no option, and if you're not going to use all of the technology inside it to do all those things, why would you bother? So therefore, you can't have a smartwatch if you don't want to pay £339 for or £299 for the basic model of it, and that's the sports one with the crappy band on it. And the small things.
I'm thinking about the scenario that Apple Pay that you're standing in the register at the supermarket and you're accidentally paying for the person that you.
Yeah, that could work. And I wonder if it'll have a limitation like. We don't have them here, but Jay, maybe I don't even know if they're in Michael or in Sweden with you, Michael. But Jay, when you're getting on the bus, you can use your
Oyster card? Yeah.
The maximum, payment. It's like 20 quid's the maximum you can spend or something at that?
I don't know, because it's gone over to the whole contactless thing, so you can pay with Barclay and other sort of credit cards. You don't even have to buy an Oyster card now. You can just swipe it over your contactless payment card.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. There's a whole thing about Card Clash, which is another thing. If you've got your Oyster card, a contactless payment card, and then a smartwatch that can also pay. You've got 3 payment streams, and if you have a look on most retail sites, you can buy anti-card clash wallets now, where I don't know if the slots are lead lined or whatever, so it won't, because the future is going to be contactless apparently. Yeah. So if you've got like a multitude of cards and devices, whether they're NFC or contactless, and you're walking through these barriers, are you going to have to feed it into one central portal to say, if more than one of these pay, just take the first payment?
Yeah. But is it not a bit more like NFC, where it has to be, centimeters above, whereas if you're paying for something, you could here and then your watch is here. There's about half a foot between.
If you've got a card and you wear your watch on that particular hand that you're swiping through, that's going to be mere inches apart.
Yeah. Okay. I'm right. Okay. We'll have to.
I'm thinking go subdermal. It's just subdermal implants all the way.
Oh, right. Okay. That's a good solution to it. We'll just check ourselves into hospitals to be able to pay for stuff. One thing I found was really interesting about this is it's not in the UK at the moment, but it's coming. It's imminent. Is Apple Pay. If you go into the Apple Store to buy one of these, you won't be able to pay for it using your iPhone because they don't have Apple Pay points in the UK stores currently. Obviously, because Apple Pay is not here at the moment. But I'm wondering, in America, do they have? Can you walk in with your iPhone and pop it on the counter and buy yourself the Apple Watch, just straight up? Or are they going to say, "Oh, sorry, we don't accept Apple Pay here. Do you have a credit card?" But you're buying an Apple Pay device with an Apple Pay device. No, sorry, we don't support it. It's not recognized here. It's not popular enough for us to be able to do. Give us your Maestro. And yes, £13,000. As you said earlier, Jay, it's not going to exactly create an heirloom. I put in a little bit in my article there about my dad giving me an Omega watch. Sorry, not giving me. I took it. Sorry, and it's worth a couple of grand. So I'm going to pass that to my son whenever I go the way of the dodo. The same can't be said about this. If someone was to invest the money and go and buy themselves even the basic £7,000 one, passing that down to your kid's going to be, here's a lump of crap that I paid a lot of money for that doesn't work anymore. 20, 30 years down the line, what's it going to be worth?
We're not even going to even have paper, so you can't even be a paperweight by then.
Well, yeah, unless it becomes like they're planning on it becoming some form of modern day antique, like if you go onto eBay and try and buy an Apple Newton or something really old. There's a bunch of old retro computers over there. An Amstrad from 1985. Some of them are worth quite a bit of money because they're, they might not have released too many of them. They're a bit rare now, and they're getting rarer and rarer, working ones, as time goes on. So obviously there's value there. But if they sell, 200,000 of these worldwide in the first year and then replace it next year with a slightly better version of it, and then it gradually gets more and more, and the build-up is more and more. In years to come, eBay is going to be a flood with these things, with people going, well, it cost me £7,000. I'll see what I can get for it on eBay, and people will be picking them up for about £500 just as a novelty factor to hang somewhere and go, look, it's one of those original Apple iWatches that cost a fortune. It's not worth anything now, mind you.
But by then there'll be watches or wearables that have Apple Watch emulators.
Yeah.
Like the Raspberry Pi, you can play all sorts of retro games on that now.
Very true, yeah.
The Pi Tendo is another thing that is Raspberry Pi, play Nintendo DS or any sort of games on there. So there'll be emulators if you are sort of hankering for that sort of thing by then.
Yeah.
I'm still missing the point, and it would be nice to have something that you can say, yeah, this is definitely a 2015 bit of technology that I've passed on. But is it going to increase in value? There's got to be the people that want to buy it for it to hold that value.
I think the largest value you'll see in them is the prior to launch ones, or the very first run of them whenever they sell out. The £13,500 version of it will probably sell for about 20 grand on eBay for one of the lucky first adopters who remortgages their house to be able to buy one and makes a fortune out of it. I remember when the iPhone 6 and 6 Plus were just being launched, Matt and Phil both sat here in the podcast going, yep, I've got 7 of them ordered and I'm going to make a packet on them over the next couple of days.
Wow.
So, Michael, what were you going to say?
I'm just feeling that if you get the £7,000 watch, and then the next year it's outdated already, you want to get the new one. It's going to be that scenario when they want the new iPhone, they're going to standardize the next year. And the same thing is that here in Sweden, they raised the prices on iPhone.
Mm-hmm.
So a 6040 iPhone Plus costs around $1,000 right now here.
Wow.
Yeah.
But then the cost of living is a lot higher in Sweden than generally other places. Like
anywhere.
That's not working then also. But we got some amazing deals on subscription services each month. So I pay what is like $30 for unlimited text and talk and 20 gigabytes of data.
$30?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Right. I'll take that back then. The cost of living is quite low then in Sweden. We should move. Well, you've got lots of snow there.
No, I've seen the price of the pints. I've been over there. A pint of beer is enough to bankrupt you. That's putting against London prices right now.
Okay. All right. Well, maybe not for the local brew, perhaps.
No, not for the local. We have some amazing brewers here. Yeah, next time you're in Sweden, look me up and I will show you around so you can find the real beer.
Right, you're on. You've made a new friend, definitely.
So you can book your flight and then take your iWatch with, or Apple Watch with you and get on the plane. Awesome. All right. That's about it for the Apple iWatch, or the Apple Watch. I keep saying iWatch. It's just instilled in there.
Do you reckon the second version of the Apple Watch is going to be round, just to really annoy people?
Or are they going to do that in 6 months' time? Because there was a little bit of a gap between the LG G Watch coming out and the Moto 360. No. Wait, was it? Or maybe the LG Watch R. There was a gap because I think they delayed the Moto 360 to let people buy the G Watch first, and then the Moto 360 came out for people to go, oh, there it is, oh, very nice, and then they went and bought that as well. So I wouldn't put it past Apple to have something up their sleeve like that.
It could be the Super Flagship phone.
The Apple Watch Plus.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Smartwatches, obviously, they're taking over this podcast. All we do is talk about smartwatches these days because we got another one coming up, and it's a bit of a leak or a rumor, if you like. You guys have heard of Oppo, haven't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. Made some fairly strong phones over the last couple of years. They are tipped to be using the VOOC chargers, which is the kind of rapid ones that you get in the Nexus 6 and the Note 4, and the S6 coming out. They might be putting one of those together into a smartwatch, which has a very small battery, and they believe that in just 5 minutes you can have almost 100% charge on your watch, which is Well, I think that's quite conceivable. Michael, I'm sure you know that whenever you plug in your Note 4, whenever it's done about 10% for half an hour, you'll be coming back and it'll be reading, I don't know, 40, 50, maybe even 60%.
That's an amazing feeling when you see that.
It-
Oh, yeah, it's been connected.
It's terrific, yeah. Even off those little portable chargers, the Anchor batteries and things. Plug that in, stick it in your pocket. The train ride, you get out the other end, and after half an hour, you've got half your battery back again. Brilliant. And the wee Anchor battery's just going, oh, I'm exhausted. But sticking this into a smartwatch, whilst I've never ever had a problem with this watch running out of juice during the day, because it's good for about 3 days. I think actually I went to London quite recently, and I didn't bother taking the charger with me on this, and it lasted me for the full 3 days, and I had about 18% left whenever I got in through the door, and I kept the screen on almost all the time. I turned it off at night because I didn't want it lighting up that half of the room. But packing that in, this might just be sort of like a proof of concept or something, and a novel wee way of putting it out there rather than putting it directly into a phone. But a 300 milliamp hour battery being charged to almost 100% in 5 minutes is the future. Absolute future. What do you think, Jay? Would you be excited by this at all?
Yeah, I mean, let's face it. How many times have we been caught out with low battery and something important is going to happen, or you just didn't notice that your battery's running out? To be able to get to near enough 100%, we're just slinging it on top of a surface, or a quick charge, done. I mean, I've not had any experience with Oppo phones, or I've tried it. I've asked them nicely. I've had hi-fi equipment. I've got some headphones and a Blu-ray player by Oppo. Fantastic. So I'm guessing, even though it's a different branch, they're pretty well made. But just the whole idea of quick charging in between meetings or whatever, just put it somewhere and then you've got a full battery again. It just depends if the battery's swappable, because you mentioned earlier that this rapid charge thing does tend to kill the batteries quite quickly anyway.
Well, it could do. I don't think it's been proved yet. It's just time will tell.
Because I think the other Oppo phones have got the quick charge thing as well, aren't they? Either the 4 or 5 Oppos, and that's like a half an hour charge or whatever.
You might be right. Yeah, actually, I think I remember reading that. Yeah.
So I'm guessing this is just like a building up on that technology, and I suppose a smaller battery is going to charge quicker in a watch size than it is in a phone.
Mm-hmm.
So it makes sense that it should be able to do it, but I just wonder how much it takes out of the battery to do this quick charge.
Well, yeah, that remains to be seen, and putting it into a watch is probably one of the better ways to test because it's not a terribly expensive accessory, unless it's an Apple Watch. Whereas if you stick it into a phone, Michael and I will probably find out in the future if this is just going to destroy the Galaxy Note 4 after 6 to 12 months. Michael, have you noticed the battery being any different or acting any differently?
No, not for me, and I'm just afraid because when I bought my second one, they asked me, "Do you want insurance?" I said, "No." Am I going to regret it? I guess so. That's life.
Well, yeah, that's the best way to look at it. That's life. But at least it has an interchangeable battery, so if it does balls up, you'll be able to do something about it as long as you don't break it again. Okay, so next up we're going to go into a bit of other stuff that was announced during the week. There's just a few little bits left before we round out the show. First up is Acer Chromebooks, and the CB5, or as it's going to be, or as it was known in the original line, the C910. Is their latest one. It's arrived on Amazon now in a bunch of different flavors. There's the Tegra K1 version, and there's I can't even remember. I haven't even written it in the Broadwell version. That's what it is. Yeah, the Intel Broadwell Celeron processor, and there's a fella called Chris Elkandier. Yeah, a fellow from Technology Resource Advisor has gone and benchmarked this Chromebook and has taken away some rather tasty scores, I have to say, by comparison with some of the big Chromebooks that are out there today. And I think Acer's trying to reposition themselves back on top of Chromebooks, because they were, with their C720, they were the top guys to go for whenever you wanted a Chromebook. Toshiba might have it at the moment. The Chromebook 2 does seem to be swaying an awful lot of people at the moment. And Samsung have just sort of been, they're a wee bit outside the door. They haven't quite come into the room yet. And HP, obviously their HP 11 sold on hot cakes, probably because of the fast charging. And they had trouble with their chargers, wasn't it? They were catching fire. Yeah. Might have something to do with the fast charging methods that they're using. Who knows? But this Acer looks to be the biz, and I really want one. I really, really do, because I'm a big fan of Chromebooks, and I think this one's going to put them on the map more so than before. Michael, you had a go with the Chromebook, and you quite liked it?
I liked it, but I don't think I gave it a fair enough chance, to be honest, because I think you have to live with it in the world and use it to the fullest extent.
Well, yes, I really think it's a device that you need to not go cold turkey, that's the wrong phrase. You need to take it with you and nothing else. Leave your other laptop and iPad and Android tablet at home and take this with you and have to survive with it, and then you'll realize, oh, I can do that by doing this, and I can do that, and the only thing I can't do is edit stuff. But you can. It's a little fiddly, but you can do everything with it through the Chrome browser. All services are available online. They're developing, and they're getting better by a day, and it's a great world living in a Chromebook. And then whenever you walk away going, I paid buttons for that, and look what it does. I couldn't be happier. Absolutely brilliant. Jay, Chromebooks?
I've not played with the Chromebook. I've played with the LG Chromebase before.
Oh,
the all-in-one thing, and I was pleasantly surprised. I mean, the keyboard felt a bit cheap and nasty, but as an all-in-one computer for not very much pounds, for anybody that weren't really like a power user, if you're just going on the interwebs, updating Facebook, practicing around a little bit with word processing, that kind of thing, sort of your normal stuff, it handled everything quite nicely. And I think in my review, I said, if you put it in like hotel lobbies and things like that for people to use just on the off chance, not a problem. It does everything you'd expect a computer to do, unless you wanted to, jump onto like a ridiculously powerful game or anything like that.
Yeah.
But for most young users or the other end, the people that are slightly older than me, that might just want to keep in contact with their like grandkids or whatever, Skype is inbuilt and all that kind of thing. There's no need to pay, let's say, £1,000-odd for a little laptop.
Yeah, you can't really go wrong with it. It's got everything you need from day-to-day life, and there's no complicated settings. You just turn it on and start using it. It's the internet's right there. But then, as you mentioned about gaming, that's an important point, that there isn't really much of a game. There is web-based games and stuff you can play, and DOSBox runs on it. I think in offline mode as well, which is awesome. But Michael, sorry, you were going to say before I started with Jay. What?
I think they're facing increased competition from Microsoft. With they're lowering the prices for Windows, and you see you can find a Windows 8 notebook for the same price for a Chromebook, and there you can install the games that you want. I don't know how it is in the UK, but we have Steam here is really big, and I know from my cousins, they're 15, 16 years old, they have all the games on Steam, and they can't do that on a Chromebook.
Well, yes, but whenever you're see when Windows for the equivalent money, getting a Windows laptop, you're not going to be able to play games on it anyway. You need a high-end Windows laptop to be able to do that. I have a Windows 8.1 device sitting over there. It's convertible from Acer with 8.1 and a keyboard, so it is essentially a laptop, but it's a tablet first and foremost. And it runs some Steam games, and it does them quite well. But the amount of money that cost whenever it first came out, I could get 2 Chromebooks for that. And you know, it's slow. It's you turn it on, you have to wait, I don't know, 15, 20 seconds for you actually get into it. Whereas the Chromebook, well, admittedly, it does cheat because you have to type your password in, and it's loading in the background whilst you're typing your password in. You log in, and it's there, and it pops up, and it happens, and you're ready to go. And that's the difference here. It's not a gamer's paradise, Chromebook, by any stretch of the imagination, but then you spending that money on a Windows 8 device, it's not going to be a gamer's paradise either. Yeah, you have to throw down a lot more to be able to get some out of it. So the kids won't like it, and I guess that makes it a perfect little educational tool, if anything.
Yeah, I know here in Sweden there are big experiments in different parts of Gothenburg that are giving the kids a brand new iPad Air. And these are people, children in 5th or 6th grade.
Hmm.
So, you know, when I went to school in Sweden, we had to learn cursive spelling and everything, but that's not the same thing here anymore. You have a bit more of a digital agenda in schools than before. So those values can be missing, I will say.
Well, it also opens up the options of like Crouton and Ubuntu and all that kind of stuff. I forgot to mention that. You can put that on there too, and that is a bigger, wider open world. And I think there's Steam for Ubuntu. So
yeah, there's a Linux version of Steam, yeah.
Yeah, so well, that's Chromebooks, and obviously the Chromebook Pixel 2. Well, I'll just throw that in there. It was announced, but we'll keep that for next week, just in case nothing else comes out between now and then. Next up, Acer. We'll stay on Acer then, and they had a big event last year in New York where they launched a bunch of new tablets, laptops, and things like that, and they've sent out save the dates for the 23rd of April this year, where they're going to be doing it all again. I haven't received an invite yet, which I'm a bit upset about, possibly because whenever I went last year, some things happened, and maybe they're not going to invite me again this year. But don't want to get too into that. Yeah, oh no, wow, not on air. They launched the Liquid Z20 or 220 and the Z520 at Mobile World Congress this year, which are 2 very nice little mobile devices, and the Acer Leap as well, which is their smartphone fitness tracker type jobby. So I'm really excited to see what they're going to be launching in New York this year, because I think those devices probably would have warranted a fairly decent launch event, but they chose not to do it at the big New York event. So are we going to see crazy new Windows mobile devices coming out? Windows Phone, or well, I suppose Windows 10 devices popping out, convertibles and laptops. So because Acer can do everything, which is the really cool thing I like about them. A bit like, well, I suppose like Samsung used to be. They can just manufacture whatever the hell they want and just license an operating system, stick it on it, and throw it out there. So actually, it was Acer who were tipped to be putting out possibly one of the first Chrome tablets a while ago, because Chrome's very much going touchscreen now at the moment. So there was rumors that there was going to be Chrome tablets, and we haven't seen any yet. But perhaps Acer could be doing something like that. What do you think? What's up Acer's sleeve? Michael, go for it.
I would say that I haven't had too much experience with Acer, to be honest. The last experience I have was with their own Macbooks with Windows 7 a couple of years ago. But
Okay.
yeah, but I like the direction they're heading because I use the Jawbone app every day to track my steps and my sleep habits. So if they can pull off that, I'm all for it.
Yeah. Okay.
Hmm?
All right. What about you, Jay? Any thoughts on what Acer might do?
I mean, knowing Acer, they'll probably release a slew of things that will run Chrome, and there'll be a Windows 10 version. I'd like them to be the first to bring out Windows 10 Watch or some kind of wearable, because obviously Windows 10 has been designed so it's multi-device friendly, as
Hmm.
far as I'm aware. So it'd be nice to have something, a Windows 10 Cuff perhaps, or just something that's just going to break up the whole watch thing. Because again, Acer's got so much depth they can afford to take it like a little bit of a risk,
Yeah.
and they're not so entrenched that so they can do something a bit quirky and not get lambasted for it.
Hmm.
So it'd be nice to see them take a risk with an odd bit of wearable. We've obviously already got people going into VR. HTC's gone into VR this time, but just
Oh.
for Acer to do something a little bit odd, because I think this space, even in the watch thing. I went to the wearable technology show. Was it yesterday? But Practech had an interesting watch that actually had two screens, and one of them went from like being long on your arm to being able to swivel around. So you got it in landscape
Right.
as well as an OLED touchscreen on the side. So I think, as nice as it is to follow the classic watch wearable, there is scope to do something a little bit weird and interesting, especially with flexible screens and flexible batteries coming into their own. So
Hmm.
I'd love it if Acer just held back that little bit more, a couple of weeks after the Apple launch, and go, and here's something really interesting that you can do.
Hmm.
Just to throw a little bit of a curveball in there. Or it just might be some mediocre tablets. Who knows?
Yeah.
Sorry, Michael. Go ahead.
From what I've seen for Windows 10 for phones, I think from what I saw at Mobile World Congress, they could release a real flagship if they follow through with the same form factors. Because the current ones that Microsoft has released, I know I have the Lumia 930 and I like it, but it's not the same as the Lumia 1020 with its 41 megapixel. That was revolutionary.
Yeah.
This one just feels like another Lumia for me. I want something groundbreaking there. And that,
Well, yeah. I was thinking about Acer earlier on, and it was. I kept thinking it's a company that people don't pay too much attention to whenever it comes to the big phones being released. Obviously, Apple, HTC, Samsung, everybody pays attention to them. Nokia as well, and LG and things. But then I just took a look around me and I thought, all right, I've got an Acer tablet over there, which is connected to my security camera. I've got an Acer laptop there. I've got an Acer, an Acer 8.1 tablet on top of it. I just showed off that little Acer phone there, the E3, and I'm just thinking I have this Acer as well, which is the I can't even remember what that's called. It's what the S20 or S200 or something. That was their flagship phone a number of years ago with a 6-inch screen. And there's more of my Chromebooks in Acer, and my wife's got a Toshiba. My stepdaughter had an Acer laptop for long enough and a netbook before that. And I'm saturated in Acer, but I've never realized just how many Acers I had. Whenever I've always been thinking I'm a bit of a Samsung kind of guy because my last few phones have been Samsung. But I've never given Acer the credit that Acer is due. Maybe you guys are the same. Maybe if you actually take a look around at your devices and go, oh, hang on a second, my TV's Acer, and my fridge is Acer, and my toilet's Acer. No, not toilet, maybe not.
No, but I have recommended Acer laptops to people that wanted a lot of sort of grunt for the buck, because it's hard to compete with that sort of price point for what you get more often than not, especially if you're looking for a laptop that's not going to be moved from place to place.
Mm-hmm.
I just started playing with my HP Stream 7, and I can't give HP enough credit because it's good for the money.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's like 99 quid or something like that, and you can have it in a pocket and carry with you, and you have the full Windows. You get Office 365 Personal and unlimited OneDrive.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a great example of what we can do with technology today.
Yeah, yeah.
And I can honestly say that I haven't had that much HP product before, but this one has impressed me.
Yeah. Well, it's an impressive company. I think over time we will start to see them more and more, and I agree that they should hopefully be doing some kind of super flagship for Windows. They're the ones that maybe could make it really work.
I see the iPad brand back.
Sorry?
The iPad.
iPac?
Yeah, the first one, the compact, released a couple of years ago with the sleeves.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
I don't remember, because that's the true iBrand. I can't really understand why they don't bring that one back. Well,
yeah. I suppose, yeah.
Probably can't afford to have anything with I at the beginning, because for what you're going to get slammed by a huge court case.
Yes, that's a fair point, yeah. Okay, Michael, is Nikon near you? Are they just down the road from you or anything, or around the corner? Nikon?
Nikon. Leica.
Where?
I think it's Leica. Leica or something like that. They don't have Nikon XLs.
Oh, Leica?
Yeah, I think it's Leica. That's Swedish.
Oh, okay. No, I'm gonna research this. I was pretty certain they were from somewhere Netherlandy. Is that a term I can use?
That's Swedish. That's Scandinavian.
Scandinavia. That's what I was aiming for.
Was there going to be a really, really slick segue into another piece?
It was, yeah. No. Nikon, a Japanese multinational corporation. Well, Japan is close to Sweden, isn't it?
Yeah, a big year, so that's.
Well, they're putting out a Coolpix P900, and this bridge camera is something else. It's got an 83 times optical zoom, and that's bonkers. That's zooming from here to, I don't know, I could see you, Michael, from here using
wherever you are.
Yeah. It's astonishing. I can't wait to get my hands on one of these. It's about 500 quid for it, so it's a high-end bridge camera, I suppose, but with a zoom lens like this, that just is phenomenal, and it does everything you'd expect from a bridge camera. I love bridge cameras. I don't even bother with SLRs anymore. I think my D80 sitting there, I'm putting it back in the box because I don't need it. I've got a bridge camera sitting there that I use all the time. This thing is so exciting. Have you seen this thing at all? Have you seen the stock shots? Even just on their website, they show from one side of the bay, zooming in and in and in and in, all the way across to the other side of the bay, where there's a surfer standing on an outcrop of rocks, and you can't see him at all in the initial picture, but you zoom in and you've got him in fine detail at the height of the zoom. Oh, it's a phenomenal thing. What do you think? Would you get one of these, Michael?
I would jump for it. Personally, I would jump for it. I have several of those big SLRs that you just described, so I'm wondering for something smaller. And that's the fun thing is that when my Lumia 1020 worked, I actually carried that one with me as a digital camera, and I was really impressed.
Oh yeah, I suppose that has a pretty fantastic zoom just based on the amount of megapixels that's in it.
And with the the sleeve that they had, so you could have like a regular camera.
Hmm.
So when I was in Florida like a year ago, I actually used that one as my only camera, and it was amazing just having carrying my SLR with me.
Yeah, yeah. Actually, Matt did that as well with the HTC One M7. He took that as his exclusive camera when he went to Disney World, the one in Florida.
Yeah.
He always corrects me. Village, okay, Disney Village, and he survived on that the whole time, and he was most happy with it. I think it did everything he wanted it to do, and couldn't fault it. Didn't even touch his SLR while he was there. So this is, well, I suppose it's only 16 megapixels, but there's only 16 megapixels. It's a fine number of megapixels. Jay, excited about these?
I've heard a little bit about it. Going on to the camera phone thing, I
Mhm.
was lucky enough to get one of the 41 megapixel Nokia PureViews that they're testing the market with.
Oh yeah.
I use that as my camcorder because it's phone sized, really good HD, but it's only tiny, so I can actually put a HD camera in my pocket, and I usually use it with a GoPro tripod for band rehearsals and things like that, and it's really reasonable.
Well, actually, on that note, Steve Litchfield records his weekly phone show, or is it weekly, bi-weekly, on the PureView, or is it has he changed it recently? But for the largest part, it was recorded on the PureView, and that's a testament to it. It was
The
beautiful.
PureView was brilliant. It's just that they were using the old OS, and I think people didn't want to spend the money on it. But for me, I've not even put a SIM in it. I just purely use it as a camera.
Hmm.
The new Nikon, I've just had a look at it with its zoom out, if that's not too rude. And that's ridiculous because I was under the impression, the new generation of bridge cameras were kind of like the Micro Four Thirds, but maybe a little bit bigger.
Yeah.
This looks pretty much like the Nikon 600, but with an extension built on, from what I'm
Mhm.
seeing.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's impressive, and you probably have somebody's eye out with that. But yeah, without reading more about it, the zoom looks good. So if you're a bird fancier or a pervert, brilliant.
Well, that's the thing. Whenever you're using this as a peeping tom, you'll be able to look across the street and up the person's nose and
I'm
identify.
glad you said nose. I'm glad you said nose.
Hey, this is a family-friendly podcast. Usually, sometimes. Yeah. So that's. I think that'll be my next upgrade. Is that awesome camera? Which
So what? Do you know what it's like weight-wise? I don't know why that's weight, but
I can't imagine it's too much. I don't think so because
because that lens looks ridiculous when it's out.
well, I use the Panasonic. I've forgotten what it's called actually. The Lumix FZ150, and it's got a 20 24 times zoom, and that zooms out like about that far, which is that's 2 inches that coming out of the actual
That's
the body
almost a
of the camera.
foot.
So if we were to apply 2 inches on 24, so that'll be 4 inches for 50, and another say 25 on top of that, well, that'll be 6 inches. So that would be out to about 75, and this is what 83. So we'll give it another inch on top of that. That's about what I've forgotten what I said. 7 inches now of telescopic zoominess.
It's like a thoroughbred. That's the super flagship right there.
Yeah, who needs a tripod when you got one of them? Fantastic, lovely Nikon. They were going to take me out last year to have a look at some of their camera launches. Hopefully they can do this again whenever they launch this. I'll go out and gladly play around with one of these for a while.
So how does it stack up with it, like the 35mm sort of standard?
It's obviously not as it doesn't have the manual settings that you would expect on an SLR. You can't tinker with it as much. You have to rely an awful lot more on automatic modes. But for the most part of it, unless you're like a real professional magazine photographer or something like that, you're not going to need most of those manual settings, and the automatic mode will manage for most every amateur pursuitist. It'll do well. I can't imagine it having any problems. Auto mode on most bridge cameras works perfectly. So I imagine this will be exactly the same.
Say about 500 quid, something like that. Do you say?
500, yeah.
Okay.
And you can do things on it as well. Like I'm sure there will be zoom extenders as well put on that, because I know there was. For this one, there was like a macro lens that I could put on the end of this just to zoom in even closer on stuff. Like you need to after 24 times zoom or whatever.
Definitely.
All right, well, we'll round it off there because we're getting a bit late here, and I'm sure you guys are about to fall asleep and listening to me dribble on for long enough.
I need more.
Oh, you've run out of wine, flipping out.
Yeah.
Dang. All right. Well, if you want to get in touch with us, you can by emailing us at podcast@tracyandmatt.co.uk, or you can phone us on our Skype line on 0208 123 3757. I'm Gareth Myles, and you can find me on Twitter at Gareth Myles, GarethMyles. And Micael, where can people find you?
They can find me on Twitter at Micael with a C, and on techandburgers.com.
techandburgers.com. One worth visiting if you're hungry for tech and, well, burgers. Excellent. And Jay, you too?
On Twitter, it's gadgetynews.com, because somebody stole Gadgety News from me.
Oh.
And website-wise, gadgetynews.com.
Okay, all right, that's cool. We'll put links in the show notes as well for anyone who wants to just catch up with the guys. And hopefully you guys will be with us next week. If you're more than welcome to join us. We'll have Matt, hopefully he's better, and Dan, hopefully he's better too, and Phil, it might be out on bail. So excellent. You can find Phil at Low405, named after a Peugeot. And then Matt as well on at Tracy and Matt. Obviously the website tracyandmatt.co.uk as well. I have done this before, believe it or not. Okay, well, we'll round it out there, and we'll catch us all next week. Take care now, everyone.
Bye-bye.